Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Your Kids podcast. Today we have with us Neymi. Neymi, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Neymi. I am the founder of I Have a Scientist. So I am a neuroscientist by training, and I decided to expand children's science education by doing a more of like a research methods program designed for kids like kindergarten through eighth grade.
Nice. Okay. What brought us here?
So I've heard great things about you. I know
Oh,
you.
no, not to me. I'm talking about no, not me. But as far as, what you've created, why?
So I've always been very passionate about educational outreach. During my PhD, I did a lot of educational outreach. I got a lot of experience. I went and talked to a lot of children in high school and below. And so I know my institute focused a lot in like high school students and maybe some middle school and the teachers, which was the most significant part of it because many teachers are really not trained in scientific methods, right? And so my institute, it's called the Max Planck Institute in Florida. So it's in Jupiter, Florida, and it's the only Max Planck Institute outside of Germany. So
Wow.
yeah, and so they dedicated, it's like top-notch institute with a lot of like top of the line technology. So I got trained very well in laboratory skills in a laboratory setting. Think of it like white lab coats, that kind of environment. And once I got out of my PhD, I went back into public schools. And I saw how little of science education these students like saw, and then how little understanding they had of the topics that they talked about. So not only did I went back, I was like I know I got hired by a charter school as like a substitute teacher. So I did that a little bit here and there. And then I tutored children in like through like second grade, third grade, fourth grade. So I had a couple of tutoring students my first year out. I was doing like my research. And students in general, especially my tutoring students, got maybe 2 hours of science a month. And it was all about
Really?
reading and answering a question. There was no perspective. There was no understanding as to where this awesome topic lands in their everyday life. So I'm
Mm,
like, okay, how do scientists learn? How do scientists learn science? We learn by doing. How did
right.
I learn science? I learned by doing. So I'm like, I have to make all of this more of a hands-on, more of a personal experience. I want children to see the science come to life because going back, seeing how they were structured, seeing what the children were learning, seeing all the topics, seeing how they were presented from kindergarten through eighth grade, right? Before they hit all those big biology, chemistry, physics, all those big topics, I want to see how right now the curriculum is set up for them to learn. So I'm like, okay, I got into researching, structuring, categorizing, and then I created it, kind of like created my program to bring those topics in a age dependent manner to life, and so they can apply it and see where it fits in their everyday world, because I want them to see their world as a laboratory,
Mm,
right? That's kind of like and so I tend to use all of my the way that I design my lesson plans, the way that I design for them to experience a topic is by using a lot of materials that they can find at home so that they can replicate at some point once they have a more grand understanding, because I just do the introduction, I do the exposure, and then I make sure that parents get the summary sheet so that they can go and reinforce it, and then eventually they start making those connections on their own.
nice. Okay. So you saw a need and you wanted to meet the demand for that need. And you feel really big about science in general.
I mean, science is everywhere.
It
Science.
is. It is. I feel like it's more important than we, like you said, like than they actually highlight in school. It's not necessarily structured in the manner that you can really see the relevance of in your life, like as far as how science is. Because I feel like everything's like an experiment in some way. Like you just said, the world as your laboratory. Everything is, like you're experimenting, hoping for the
Problem
outcome.
solving.
Yes.
Yeah, right. You're problem solving. And so these are all these little skills. So with the littles, like lower elementary, I work on all of these basic skills like measuring, categorizing, all throughout different ways and different topics across different science fields. Like I try to be as vast as I can, but with a purpose. If we're gonna make slime, it's slime with a purpose. What is the purpose of this? Everything needs to have a purpose.
Nice. Well, so okay, so they're hands-on experiments. Is it curriculum or are they lessons, activities? How is it structured?
I myself have an outline where I've designed a curriculum for pre-K, a curriculum for lower elementary, higher elementary, and middle school.
Okay.
So it is kind of like a notebook, a spiral notebook curriculum where we see the same science fields, similar topics, but the way that they have to do their experiment advances as they grow, right? So kindergarten, I have them learn a basic structure of how to read a table, how to fill out a table. Yes, no, it happened, did not happen. As they get into higher elementary, now we're working on numbers, on measuring, like real, like detailed. And then by middle school, we're analyzing our numbers. Actually like taking the average and working more on the graph, on the demonstration part of the science. So everything I walk them, every experiment is walking them through the scientific method, but depending on the science field, depending on the topic, we may focus more on one skill, like more on the observation skill, more on the predicting, hypothesizing skill, more on the data collection skill, more on the modeling, showing a picture. When they're little, you want to just show a picture versus when they're in middle school. Now we're showing graphs, line graphs, bar graphs, Venn diagrams, but like triple Venn diagrams. Like we get a little bit more advanced as they age. But the curriculum is kind of basically the same from lower elementary, high elementary, middle school, but we advance the topics and we advance the skill set as they get older. And pre-K is more like we just work on their fine motor skills and their gross motor skills. So it's all games. They're learning by playing and experiencing, and all sensorial.
Gotcha. And so it's from K through 8 or pre-K through 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so is this a curriculum that parents can get and work through themselves, or do you have sessions online, or how does that look?
So right now, I've been developing the program. I've been I believe this is my third year into it. So pre-K and lower elementary, those are curriculums that are already set and done, because I have to test it as a good sign that I can't just go and make up something and see, oh, no, it works. No, I have to go, I test it out on different groups. I go, I edit it. Okay, this did not work. We need this kind of material instead for that. Like if it's a large group, you got to kind of modify it this way. So eventually, but I'm creating it with the intention of teachers, of a guide, of a homeschool parent applying it with their kid. Each level, except for the even the pre-K, because if you think about it, if you start your child exposing them at 3 to 5, pre-K should at least take 2 years. Each program, each age-dependent program should take you about 2 to 3 years of application. This is not about science should be the main focus of your school. Of course not. Children still need to learn how to read. Children still need to learn how to like count and like, math, reading comprehension. I understand that. So this is more of like adding, it's a more of a resource to add a more hands-on perspective to all of the whatever science topic you may be covering at that time. So sorry, I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, you're saying that it's something that parents basically can walk their children
Yes.
through.
Yes, yes. So eventually it's for teachers, parents, guys to be able to I'm not sure how I will have it set up, but I know that I wanted, at least for the pre-K, to start off as like a subscription. I know I'm working on the making videos. I want a visual video to go with each lesson plan. That is my goal, because I want it to be to demonstrate like kind of like what it should look like.
Yeah.
And have a good guide about it.
Gotcha. And you have some little ones. Are you homeschooling?
Yes, I'm homeschooling my almost 5-year-old, and I have an almost 1-year-old.
Oh, nice.
I've been homeschooling my little one for like 2 years, and yeah, it's paying off. The kid can read.
Nice. I know. Isn't that fulfilling? Like to see, like you get them there. I feel like once they learn how to read, they can do anything.
Yeah. It's really
So how do you approach homeschooling? How does that look for your world?
So I've been changing it as I see him progress. And so we set up to do homeschooling, I want to say between 3 to 4 days a week. That's what he does with me I've been working him before. It was like 20 minutes. Now we can last like an hour. This last session that I changed, I finally started including more math, more science, right? Because first you want to start with the sounds, the letters, the numbers, the recognition, days of the week, months of the year, all the basics, the weather, the seasons. So it's a beautiful way of seeing how he's connecting everything. So that's what I work with. My husband, he'll do like maybe 1 or 2 days of like geography with him, and that's like a 30-minute thing. So he knows his continents, and he knows the world. So it's sweet.
Nice.
And I also have him in like an enrichment program twice a week, just so he can understand social skills, spaces, boundaries, things like listening to his teachers, trusting his teachers, the other guides. So that's where I have him. And next year we're gonna do one more year round of, I found a little school closer to home that he can go like 3 times a week, like 3.5 hours. And then after that, then we're gonna launch off and just full homeschooling, because by then I'll depend. That's what I love about homeschooling. Every year, every 6 months, you can kind of
reevaluate.
I love that freedom, and my job allows me to have that freedom.
Nice. So what made you consider homeschooling? What put that on your radar?
I met this wonderful guy who was my husband's friend in college, and he was very religious. So I guess at that time, a lot of religious based groups or families would focus more on homeschooling. And Daniel was so like smart, so in tune with like other people. Just to make it long story short, he is a top-notch lawyer in the DC area. And so then I got to like ask him more about like, well, he didn't go to school. He had homeschooling. His mom set it up. Each family focused on like a different topic. So he talked about basically having a pod as he grew up, with like various ages, and him having a lot of siblings that he had to like teach and peer like support. And so based off of him alone and how grounded he was, that was the most, like, I guess, aspect that I noticed the most about him, the grounding.
Nice.
That I'm like, you know what? And then seeing like what I knew, and then seeing the public education at the time that when I came out, and I'm seeing like, that something is missing I'm like, no, we should do the homeschooling aspect, because between me and my husband, we're like pretty much a good team. I have all the science, and I can do the reading comprehension, and I'm really good at all of that. And he's good at the geography, history, things that I never even like.
No interest.
Not no interest. I was just never inspired. I never found a good and he actually, my husband taught me the little bit of history that I know is, and geography is because of him. So not even like in school. So I feel like I'm like, you're a good teacher. You just so based off of that, yeah, we're going the homeschool route, and then we'll see, of course, if I feel like he needs extra support, I'll go out and get
Well,
it.
yeah, you've already got the enrichment program. How did you find that?
Which one? The enrichment? Oh,
Yeah.
through other micro schools, other homeschool parents. And so they're more of like they started off like as a group for only homeschoolers, and then they grew, and so then they started adding a little more academics as the kids grew older. I believe that's how their program goes, but I haven't experienced it yet. And so me applying my program to homeschool, micro schools, that kind of networked me into finding this program for him.
Nice, nice, nice. And I love that you said, like, we start out with like 30 minutes and now we kind of worked our way up to an hour. I think parents need to hear that, because a lot of parents feel like, 7 hours is what they need to be doing. And it's like, no, you don't need that long. Yes.
No, they don't
Yeah.
need that long. I mean, even if you do 2 hours, let's say, like the child is already 7, 8, right? They have that maturity. You can do 2 hours, 4, 5 times a week. Well, let's say 4. And you don't have to do it. You don't have to stop. You don't have to give them a long break. You don't have to do a summer break. You can just smoothly run through the entire year, and then of course breaks and holidays. So it's kind of like you don't have to go to fast pace with the school year. You can kind of take your time.
Nice. Are you the first in your family to homeschool?
Yes, because I come from South America, where I mean, if South America, I got lucky because I came from Venezuela, and I was put in a engineering based private school when I was little. So I went there to 3rd grade, and then I came to United States. And I was in public school. But even then, I remember our teachers having more flexibility to apply different methods into teaching us. I remember this 5th grade science teacher. He had like all these like crazy animals that he had fixated. Basically, he had like he added a chemical to like fixate the being. And it was so creepy, but so cool. And nowadays, I feel like a teacher will get in trouble for bringing that into the classroom. So, and I remember because I tried the way that I expand my program is by having new teachers that have some research experience, and then training them to apply this program to kids, because teaching children is a skill on its own. And so I've been working on that. And I remember going through some interviews, and some teachers, they wanted to do more after school, but since my clients right now are homeschoolers, we kind of have to do it during the school hours. But those teachers from those public schools, they're like so frustrated with the system on how restrictive they are. So they want to do more, but they just can't. And I felt like that's why I did apply for jobs, but I felt that I would be so restricted that I wouldn't enjoy what I was doing, and that's not the point.
Yeah, no, I understand. How did you fall in love with science? Because you were very passionate about it. So how did that come about? Was it that 5th grade science teacher?
It was him at the beginning, he like sparked like the whole, okay, there's creatures and we can study them and we can kind of preserve them and like, you know, admire them, that I guess that in a way. And then there was an 8th grade teacher that I can't remember his name, but I know he put me in a more advanced biology class when we were in middle school, and we got to do a lot of dissections. So that was like my gateway. That started it. That sparked it. All the dissections, and I was one that I didn't need a partner. I could do it all by myself. And we had to go on Saturdays to school. It wasn't like during the school hours. It was like you took your time out of school hours to do this class. So I think that was the beginning of it all. And then in high school, I did a lot of sciences. But I just enjoyed high school. I was in sports, sciences, and music. I did a lot. And then in college, I went the biology route. It didn't work out because I just wasn't prepared to know how to study for that level of classes. So it took a lot of learning myself how to study, because that's another skill set, another set of skills that I wasn't really exposed to. And sadly, I did not really learn what a beaker was until my first chemistry class. And so that is also sad to know how the system kind of like doesn't really provide those kind of resources. So trust me, I have 5-year-olds saying, what is this? This is a beaker. Why is it a beaker? What is a measure? What's inside? What units are we measuring in? I have 5-6-year-olds that can tell you that, because I'm like, no, my students will be better exposed to these kind of words and skill sets that are just, they should just be part of our everyday life, really. I think that's how you'll eventually learn how to pinpoint all of that misinformation that the general public kind of falls into. Yeah, they'll be better equipped to, I guess, question it.
Yes, the questions. Definitely got to ask the questions. Science is my girls, my books. I have 2 daughters, and science is their favorite subject right now. Especially my 7-year-old. She loves doing science experiments, and we have so many different little science kits and everything we get from Michael's or Walmart, all that stuff, and they love it. They really do. Because I feel like science is not really viewed in the light that it should be, only because our bodies is science, our health is science, and it's like it's separated. Like I'm thinking back in school, like they separate health and science, but they kind of go hand in hand as far as your body and your chemical makeup. Like, you know, I sit and listen down. I've learned so much now. It's like, oh my gosh, if only we knew this stuff in school. And I just wonder why it's not approached more like that. Not that, you know, we can solve that issue, but I'm just saying, like, you know, the more you know as far as science goes, I feel you will be way better off in understanding your own self.
That's why I have an extra module for my curriculum, and it's my body, my brain, my nervous system. It's all about them exploring. I mean, as a neuroscientist, I feel like they have to know about their nervous system, because your nervous system is everything.
Yes.
You function because of your nervous system. You malfunction because of your nervous system. So I show them their limitations through their senses, and right now, and that's how I finish off the year. We start off with, you know, research methods, like the scientific method, and we finish off with neuroscience. So we finish off with them learning a little bit more about themselves.
Nice. Yeah, I have a friend in New York who just released a book called The Vulnerable, and she talks about the endocrine and your nervous system, and just how your gut, like, you know, honoring your gut and listening to your body and things of that nature. And I don't think people realize just how much we take in a day and we don't release back out, and so it affects us. and not always in a positive manner. So I feel like science, I feel like I keep on going back to it, but science is really like an overlooked thing. Like, you know, we always think about the, like you said, the dissecting or the experiments itself, but it's just like your body is science.
It is. And that's why I do it in the research methods for kids. It's because
Yeah.
it's not about you learning the science and you're learning these words. It's about the application of the science. Why are you learning these words? Where do they apply? So when it comes to the neuroscience, okay, why do you feel this way? Let's talk about the different types of feelings. Let's talk about the different sensory overloads. So for middle school, I tend to when I express to them their flight or fight, so the stress response versus the parasympathetic, so you're calming, I play a game with them with an oxygen meter and a pulse meter, and I excite them. I have them like go into a stress response, whether physical or emotional, and we observe, we have them up, we collect their oxygen and their heartbeat at baseline, then when they're overstimulated, and then how long does it take them to get back to baseline.
Oh,
So a
yeah.
lot of them see, oh, I'm not, some of them, you can see the outliers. Oh, some of them are not good. And then we tested it with a teacher who meditated a lot. She got back to baseline within like less than a minute. So it really shows the students like, okay, this is something that I need to work on. This is something that I need to think about, because we also talk about what happens if you are overregulated, like you are overstressed. What happens to your system? Because I walk them. I have a whole chart where I walk them through what happens to your body. So imagine, I'm like, imagine if your body stayed in this kind of zone all the time. What do you think would happen to your heart? What do you happen to your, like, to your stomach, to your gut, to your intestines, like to your eyes? And they're like, oh.
Right.
So
And
yeah.
that also goes back to your diet too. Like they
Oh yeah.
separate that too. And that I feel like that matters a lot as far as our everyday, and understanding like certain foods that we take in can either, you know, disrupt what we have going on inside, or it can calm or soothe or build or regenerate. So I don't, it's like science is science. Science is really important.
You are what you eat. I just did a class a little bit earlier in the semester with some middle schoolers again, because with middle schoolers I can, the elementary is the learning, the base of these like topics, and then a little bit of more modeling, and then in middle school I really get to work on the application, more application. So we did like a protein synthesis exercise where I walk them through how your cell creates proteins, and I had them walk through this whole big chart where they had to go through the process, because it's all a code. And so they had to break the code to create a being that created those proteins, like in a puzzle form. It's a little, it was fun because they really got into it. But at the end, it was like, listen, like all your cells in your body are doing this every second of the day, every second of every minute of every hour of the day. So without you having to think about it, they are already programmed to do things to keep you like alive and healthy and functioning.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of proteins do you want in your body? Because the better of the proteins, the better of the nutrients that you apply to your body, the better your cells work. So imagine. And I do this at every level, but it really got them thinking. I remember this 13-year-old that he was like, I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed with my body. This is amazing. I'm like, thank you.
Nice. Yes. I know I always talk to my girls about our bodies healing itself. Like, you know, when certain cuts happen or certain little bruises, I'm like, okay, well, now all you need to do is make sure you provide your body with the right nutrients so it can have the strength to heal itself. Because that is the magic of our bodies. It does heal itself. Um, what's your take on like, I know this may be like extreme to even talk about, but like the cancers that people are dealing with now in regards to, like you said, as far as the protein that we take in or your nervous system, what is we're handling. Because I feel like a lot, and I've seen, watched a couple of documentaries that relate cancer to our bodies, like as far as what we're eating or what we're consuming, visually stimulating, like, media wise, the stressors, like how important it is to be able to meditate or do yoga or something that's going to help rebalance yourself. Because a lot of us are walking around with, a lot.
Yeah, there was I'm in agreement with you because, and I was reading about, I was actually recently reading a article about why younger people, why there's a higher rate of younger people getting cancer. So I mean, there is a lot of tools with radiation that we're using, right? There is a lot of activating our flight or fight system without, like, okay, why do humans have a flight or fight response? First of all, let's go into an evolutionary perspective. We developed that in order to keep us alive, right? But keeping us alive back like many thousands of years ago was against like a snake or a tiger.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot simpler, right?
Yeah. Not I'm gonna go and have a big speech in front of 100 people and I hope nobody asks me a question that I don't know about, because now there's social media and now that's gonna be in like on a video and nobody's ever gonna let me forget about it and I'm gonna be a meme, and like I get that. So there was this I to me it's as simple as when you do that experiment with the plants, where you give them love or you give them hate or you don't treat them at all. The ones that you give them more love, those positive energies, because I feel like we're all a big ball of energy. We are. There are a lot of electrical activity. That's what your nervous system is. It's a chemo, like electrical component. It's not just chemical, it's also electrical. So what you apply or how you apply it affects your nervous system. It affects how overcharged or undercharged it is. So if you are, how you said, not taking note, not being mindful of I'm overstressed, I'm overstimulated, and trying to do something to ground yourself, to get yourself back to baseline, then we're going to have malfunctions throughout our body. And it all depends. It's all genetic. I want to say it's like it's a predisposed to whatever your genetic component is, right? Whatever, you may be more predisposed to having depression or more predisposed to having like a digestive system issue. It just depends on how you are as a being, what determines like how it's going to affect you, in my opinion. So we need to, as a society, learn how to handle that stress. I guess, like how to work. I guess how to create a system where we all have an understanding that we need to learn how to de-stress, and then finding a sensory tool that would help everybody, like, because everybody has a sensory diet, right? Everybody de-stresses in a separate way. And I guess parents being mindful of how to help their children find their calm spot, like go back to baseline, and taking into consideration how you also are a human, how you also need to get yourself back to baseline. And I think if we have that kind of like mental health, and not even consider like mental health, right? Because a lot of people get don't like that term. They don't want to think that they're mentally unstable, and that doesn't mean that. It just means that you just need to get your body in one like synchronous
a balance, really.
yeah. Yeah.
No, and that's why I love what you're doing, because I feel like that was one of the first things I wanted to focus on with my girls is our bodies, like learning and knowing how our bodies function and understanding and learning to trust your body. So we talk about what the kidneys do, we talk about what the lungs do, we talk about the white and red blood cells, like we talk, all that good stuff. And we were actually playing trivia the other day, and I was really proud of them because I was like, I better know this. And it was just talking about the kidney, what, the functions of the kidney. And then, ask like what flushes out, I think unnecessary protein or something, something, something. But either way, the answer was kidney. I was like, y'all better know this. And they did. But I just love that they're getting to take in and learn important things at the age that they are, because I feel like that will help them so much more in the long run of their adulthood and being balanced and being healthy, overall healthy. Because health it's a heavy topic right now. Like you just spoke on the mental health. That is, oh my gosh, like that is everywhere. But there's so many factors that are going against our mental health that it's like, yo, just turn the TV off.
Turn the TV off, get off of social media. Don't take it personally. If you want to post something for you to make you happy, not for anything else. Now if that's your job, I don't know what to say in relation to that when it comes to like that's how you make like, the influencers, that's how you make your money. I don't know how to go about that, but other than that, yeah, like your mental health or your I feel like a lot of your mental health is a gateway to like your health. And of course, the food, what you eat. You are what you eat. Your cells will use what you put in it. I just did a digestive system when we walked through it. Oh my God, I had the 7-year-old describe it she ended with how we eliminated out of our bodies from where we eat it. So it was like because I talked to them about the concepts, right? Like when we eat something, it starts at a mechanical level because we chew it, we have to break it down, and our saliva has these enzymes. I'm like, which are like little scissors. This is like a lower elementary level, which are little scissors, and we break down the food even more. And she's like, and then we propel it into the esophagus. But it's her explaining it after the entire class, and I'm just like, this is beautiful.
Yes.
Those beautiful words. And at the end of it all, I go ask the student, I'm like, listen, and like, so we like simulated it, and it was to some it was gross. I'm like, well, I mean, that is what your body's doing when you eat your food. So think about what you're putting in your food. I'm like, do you wanna get all these nutrients and all this good, like, things for your body, energy for your body? Do you want to get out of carrots? I'm like, or do you want to get out of French fries? And they're like, oh, definitely carrots. And I'm like, exactly, because they're more wholesome. They actually have the tools that your body needs. And they're like, one was like, but French fries is okay sometimes. I'm like, of course, if you air fry them, if you use the right oils, everything in moderation. I'm not saying you can't have French fries. I'm just saying, think about it. When you are eating, I'm like, do you want to eat French fries all day, every day of the week? They're like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, there you go.
Yes. No, I was just laying there yesterday and I was just thinking about my nutrient intake. I'm like, yo, I really need to, because I'm a smoothie drinker. I drink a lot of smoothies and I haven't been drinking my smoothies like I typically do. So I'm just like, as I'm stretching and hearing my body crack and certain things hurt, I'm like, oh my gosh, I really need to do better.
Yeah, smoothies are great because your body absorbs it even faster. Like it's just a more fast absorption. And yeah, I feel the same way when I don't drink my juices. Like I like to juice like certain like, certain foods like cucumber and like especially like what do you call that? Ginger.
Yeah, I love ginger.
I feel like my stomach sometimes needs that spicy and like that extra goodness, that extra like burning sensation. And like I feel it like when like I feel like my stomach and my digestive system goes off if I don't have my juices regularly. So I'm in the same.
Yes.
Your body
Yeah.
asks you if you listen,
Oh yeah, and it was talking to me last night. It was. It was like, yeah, do better. Do better, girl. Yes. So I am scientist. Am I saying it right?
I am a scientist.
I am a scientist.
I
I
am a
am a
scientist.
scientist. I am. Yes, I am a scientist. Where can we find I am a scientist?
So right now I do host my own homeschool group. Right now we're in the transition. We were doing it in a park in Davie, so outdoors. And I finally found an indoor location. It's a laboratory in a library. So it's like a real laboratory setting. So I'm really excited for that.
Nice.
So that will be twice a month in for homeschoolers, and then I usually go around different groups, different homeschool groups, homeschool pods. So I'm in different like micro schools throughout the area, from Miami to Wellington.
Nice. So you created your own homeschool group?
Yeah, I started putting out my classes, and I had people register, especially because I'm on a approved provider for Step Up, so that helped a lot with families being able to just register through their Step Up in scholarships.
Oh, nice. Talk about your homeschool group. How does that work? How can they get a part of that?
So they register through my website. I put out in my Instagram, I'll put out a announcement of registration, class times, class dates, levels, and then they go into the website, they register, they do the whole registration process, and then they come into the classes twice a month. Because I find that homeschooling, and as any parent, you want to be softly involved, but not too much, because you're doing a lot. And I get it. There's sports. There's a lot. There's other lives. So I'm like, we do a little bit of science, like twice a month. That's good enough. And it kind of gets them exposed, and it gets them learning. And then I do see the difference. I have this one group that this has stayed in my mind since I saw it. It was about a month ago, and I've been working with these students about 2 years now. We were doing a air resistance class where they got to create their own parachutes out of different materials, and we were testing how well those parachutes were at dragging, creating a drag. So that means that they slowed down their fall from wherever they were throwing it into the ground. So we counted in seconds. How long did it take for that parachute to reach the ground? And I did not have to tell them that after every trial, they had to put in their time, and in where they had to put in their time in their tables. They were just doing it. Nice. They were in it, and they were like, oh, in seconds, and how many seconds, and let me put this and whatever in the distance. And they were like all writing it down. And they all sat down once we were done, and they were able to, like, they understood the concept of calculating the average, and then we got to like demonstrate it. But it was amazing that they were already, I guess, not, I don't want to say trained, but they already knew that they needed to take notes, that these notes were important, that they needed to compare these numbers and why we were comparing these numbers. And then we got to compare the different materials and why each material created a different track. And I was just like, I was mind blown, because I'm like, okay, it is working. Nice. It is a great concept. It was just confirmation that these students are learning and they're applying. They're learning not just because I hear from parents. It's not just in my classes, it's outside too, which is, that's the concept. That's what I want. I want everybody to have an eye of a scientist. I want everybody to observe everything as if like it were like a little science project.
Yes, problem solving, critical thinking, like.
Yeah, but how do you form the critical thinking? What are the skills that they need to get to critical thinking? So that's been the
That's where the questions come, asking the right questions.
Yep.
The analyzing. Yeah. My girls ask a lot of questions. Yes.
That's how you know. That's what I tell my student. I'm like, there's no dumb question.
No.
There's no reason to, like, if you don't know it, you don't know it. It didn't click. So let's make it click. So sometimes a lot of the way that I teach is not just giving them the answer. It's asking them a question back. Oh, what is this? Well, what does it look like? What do you think we could use it for? And they're like, oh.
Nice. And where do you see yourself growing out of a scientist? Like, do you see maybe micro school, maybe the learning pods? Because I mean, you have the group, you essentially have the learning pod already. But where do you see you growing to?
I want my own kids laboratory. I want to be able to, now that I think I have like another year, a year and a half of like completing the program in itself with the content that I have it structured. And I want to be able to then demonstrate it, that it works, right? Like collect the data that it does work. That way I can apply for more educational grants, and then offer the resources at a bigger level. So to do that, you know, like it's a process. It's a grant writing process, which I never saw myself doing the grant writing part, but here I am doing the grant writing part.
Yeah. Have you applied for the Vela grant?
Yeah.
Okay,
And that's
good.
how I'm running my science fair. That's how I'm running my annual science fair.
Nice.
Yeah. I partnered up this year with Tony from Surfskate Science. So
Okay.
she helped me out with a couple of things. So that's fun. We expanded it to like middle school this year. And yeah, I want to have my own kids laboratory. That way I can have programs for homeschoolers, programs for after school, because I finally have public school parents. I live in a community where we have like this big public school, and now parents are starting to realize like, oh, this is what you do. That's actually fun. Like, so it's a slow growing process, which I'm okay with because I have two of my own that I need to take care of. But eventually I do see the program growing, that I can have my own kids lab and really give them the science experience that I feel like all children should have.
Nice. Yes, I love it. And I love that you're building something of this nature that is allowing families to, tap into it on their own and supplement. And so, yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Before I let you go, could you give our parents 3 tips maybe on how to incorporate science into their daily structure of homeschooling?
So I would start off by, I mean, like I said, everything is science, right? So try to see, okay, what your child is interested in, trying to see how that can be connected to a science topic. Whether, okay, I know I have these, this school of, and there's this group of girls, they're obsessed with slime. Okay, your child's obsessed with slime. They have so think about how that could be an experiment, right? Slime is a chemical reaction. So, but how many ways are there to create slime? Many ways. So let's create a whole experiment as to which is the best recipe for slime, and let's compare it. So I think that, like, in order to apply science, even though it may be slime, it's still teaching them a process. So when it comes to science, I think that they should teach them a process of like where that process starts, what conclusions can we make out of it, and why is this important for anybody, because that's how science grows. We build on each other, and in order to build on each other, we need to have communication about it. So I think that those will be my skills. See what your child is interested in and try to pair it with like some science topic that they can connect it. They can make a connection with it.
Nice. Okay. And could you share your website with us?
Yes, it's iovascientist.com.
Okay, cool. And it'll be in the description also. I just like to always have you say it. But yes, parents, please check out Iowa Scientist. See what resources that she has to provide and how she's making science fun. And providing you with curriculum that you don't have to think of or think too hard on yourself, and using household materials or just life in general. So
Yeah.
please check her out, check her out, check her out. Remember, this is not something you have to do alone. Like Neymi said, that she created a homeschool group based off what she see is needed, and you can do the same. So if you don't see what you need or don't have what you need in your community, be sure to create it, because I'm sure someone else is looking for it also. But thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for everything. Anything else you wanted to share?
No, I'm here. Any questions, anytime, just go to my website, ihavascientist.com. You'll have all the information that you need to reach out to me. And thank you so much. This was awesome. Thank
Of
you.
course, of course. Thank you. Remember to homeschool your kids.